Hello and welcome back. Today we have a very exciting episode in store for you. I am going to be diving into the rabbit hole that is conspiracy theories. I'm sure you have heard a couple when chatting with friends and family, so I thought of mentioning a few that have always stuck with me. I also want to state that none of the information is mine and that I've pulled it from various sources across the internet. Okay, let's get going. Number 1. The moon landings were faked. So let's start with the why. Well, the USA and Russia were in a heated race to space in the 60s, and whoever could put a man on the moon would have the bragging rights and clearly become more of a superpower. So what proof is there to back this up? Well, there's a couple of points that I've got raised here, and let's start off with number 1. The crosshairs on some of the photos appear to be behind the objects, which makes no sense. Number 2, considering you are in the black of space, there are no stars in any of the photos. Number 3, the angle and shadows in the photos are inconsistent with one another. Number 4, if Neil Armstrong was the first man on the moon, then who filmed him coming down those stairs? Astronauts couldn't have survived the trip because of the exposure to radiation from the Van Allen radiation belt. And one of the big ones was when the flag was planted on the moon, you can clearly see it moving, despite there being zero wind on the moon. Also, the last time when we went to the moon was in 1972. So why haven't we gone back then? Surely spaceship material and technology has improved tenfold since then, but NASA claims it's too expensive to go back now. Well, then you ask, how did they actually pull this off, the biggest hoax of all time? Well, it seems you to believe some theorists out there. World famous director Stanley Kubrick shot the whole thing in a studio, and that is their answer to how they did it. They say if you look at his movie The Shining, there are a lot of reference points in there pertaining to space and NASA. You know, it's really hard to make my mind up on this one, and I'll never believe it nor deny that the moon landings are faked. However, I'd like to hear what you guys think out there. Let me know what your thoughts are. The second theory we're going to move on to is called Steve Jobs 2.0. So the theory goes in mid-2018, nearly 7 years after he tragically died of pancreatic cancer at the age of 56, someone on Reddit posted an image of a man in Egypt who looks a hell of a lot like Steve Jobs. It's called Steve Jobs is just hiding in Egypt. As simple as that. They say he went to Egypt and was hiding out after faking his death. The proof? Well, while the guy does have the classic Steve Jobs thoughtful chin grab, some people have pointed out that he's not wearing an Apple Watch. Now watch yourself. If you were the head of a global technology corporation known for inventing a very identifiable wrist accessory, would you wear said watch after faking your own death and escaping to Egypt? And who believes this theory anyway? Well, a few thousand anonymous people on Reddit, the Daily Mail, yes, you heard right, the Daily Mail, and anyone who camps outside of an Apple store before every new iPhone is released. Not me though. So rest in peace, Steve Jobs. I think you did pass away. The next theory is a very, very interesting one. It's the Abraham Lincoln and JF Kennedy conspiracy. Shout out to Jordan Green for reminding me of this one that I'd actually completely forgot about. And this is not really a standalone conspiracy, but more of one that ties into the whole lot of other weird ones out there. And basically the short of it is there are crazy similarities between Abe Lincoln and JFK Kennedy. I'm going to run through some of them. Lincoln was elected in Congress in 1846. Kennedy was elected to Congress in 1946, exactly 100 years after him. Lincoln was elected president in 1860. Kennedy was elected president in, yes, you guessed it, 1960. Another 100 years passed. Both were particularly concerned with civil rights. Both wives lost their children while living in the White House. Both presidents were shot on a Friday. Both were shot in the head. Lincoln's secretary, called Kennedy, warned him not to go to the theater. Kennedy's secretary, called Lincoln, warned him not to go to Dallas. Both were assassinated by Southerners. Both were succeeded by Southerners. Both successors were named Johnson. Andrew Johnson, who succeeded Lincoln, was born in 1808. Lyndon Johnson, who succeeded Kennedy, was born in 1908. John Wilkes Booth was born in 1839. This is who killed Abe Lincoln. And Lee Harvey Oswald, who killed JFK, was born in 1939. Both assassins were known by their 3 names, and both names are comprised of 15 letters. Booth ran from the theatre and was caught in a warehouse. Oswald ran from a warehouse and was caught where? In a theatre. Booth and Oswald were assassinated before their trials. So either the 2 presidents have a lot, and I mean a crazy amount of coincidences happening between them, or there's something else bigger at play here. You make your mind up on that one. Number 4, your phone is constantly listening to you. So you and your friends are sitting around talking about a specific brand of car. Then a day or 2 later, you're scrolling through Facebook or Instagram, and boom, all of a sudden, that specific car is being advertised right there in front of you. So what does this mean? That your phone is listening to you? Damn straight. I've actually proven this before, and there's a lot of proof out there if you just go and look for it. In mid-2018, a reporter for Vice experimented to see just how closely smartphones listen to our conversations. To test his phone, the journalist spoke pre-selected phrases twice a day for 5 days in a row. Meanwhile, he monitored his Facebook feed to see if any changes occurred. Sure enough, the changes seemed to arrive overnight. One of his test phrases involved going back to university, and by the next morning, the reporter saw ads for the summer courses. He then changed up his test phrase to cheap shirts, and quickly saw advertisements for low-cost apparel on his Facebook feed. The biggest vulnerability comes from the always-on feature for most voice assistants. To pick up words like "Hey Siri," the mic needs to remain on at all times, which means your phone is always listening. The best place to start taking your privacy back is by turning off the always-on microphone feature on your handset. Here's how to do it. You need to deactivate Siri. Apple has come under fire for transcribing audio recordings of Siri users. The data is locally stored on your device and is uploaded once Siri is activated. So disabling this feature will at least make your Siri input shorter and more specific to your requests. To turn off Hey Siri, navigate to your iOS device's settings, followed by Siri and search. Then toggle Listen for Hey Siri to off. Next, we've got to disable OK Google for the Android users. Every time you use OK Google or use any other voice-controlled function, your query is recorded and the transcripts are saved to your Google account. Tap or click just to learn how to remove these recordings and other info you don't want Google to store. If you use Google Assistant on Android, open the Google Assistant settings, say OK Google, or hold down the phone's home button and tap the file drawer icon right on the upper right hand corner, and tap the 3-dot menu, select more and choose settings. From this point, you'll want to scroll down to the devices category and select your phone. Then, in the Google Assistant section near the top, tap the blue slider, change that button and change it to grey, which turns off Google Assistant. Disable mic access for your apps. Disabling the always-on microphone features from your phone isn't enough for some apps like Facebook. Social Site makes exceptions to the rule and will keep on listening unless you make the change. This is just one of the many privacy settings you really should be using if you have a Facebook account. If I'm being honest, and I think they, and I say they as I'm not too sure what to call them or who to call them, are still using and listening to your voice and all your recordings on your phone even after you do these things. Maybe another masterstroke from the Illuminati. Number 5, the theory that we are all just a simulation. When I first heard about this theory, I didn't believe it at all. But after doing some digging, it is definitely one more thing that keeps me up at night. The theory that we are all a simulation is guided by the idea that our technology has come such a long way in such a short period of time. The theory goes that there was a civilization of people that have already gotten as far as to make a simulation that is so realistic that people in the game, and those people are being us, don't realize they're in a simulation. This theory is constantly discussed and can give an explanation to phenomena such as deja vu. If you just have a look at Elon Musk, he is a massive believer in the simulation theory. Number 6. The Denver airport is actually hell. This is a theory that scared the hell, and no pun intended, out of me when I first heard it. The theory goes that Denver airport is actually hell and one of the headquarters for the Illuminati. I know it sounds ridiculous and crazy and you're thinking, Shane, you're losing the plot here, but when you look at the evidence, it's hard to argue against it. The murals found around the airport depict horror scenes, and they say that when you look at the runway from a bird's eye view, they create what very much looks to be a swastika. There's many references to the Illuminati all throughout the airport, and even underground tunnels. When creating the airport, they went over budget by $2 billion. I wonder what all that money, extra money, went into now. Number 7. Black-eyed children. For scares, this theory really takes the cake. There is a legend of black-eyed children going around and terrorizing people. The experiences people are having are frightening and chilling to say the least. One story tells of a man in his car writing a check and soon realizing 2 hooded kids were standing behind his car window when they knocked. The man rolled down his window and he had a feeling of dread washed over him, a feeling common to those that have had experiences with children. The kids removed their hoods and asked for a ride home. When the man refused, the kids got more aggressive with their tone of voice and ordered the man to give them a ride home. The man instinctively reached to unlock the door, but stopped himself before doing so. That is when he looked up and to notice the kids had that their eyes were a pitch black with no iris or white. The man quickly took off, and when he looked back, the kids were just gone, vanished, boom, into fresh air. Stories of the black-eyed children have been circling around for centuries and are still told to this day. What do you think about the black-eyed children? Have you seen any? And last but not least, number 8, and this is quite a funny one. Iran accuses the West of using lizards for nuclear spying. I've never heard of this one at all before until a friend of mine, Sully, mentioned it to me. It goes along like something like this. The former chief of staff of Iran's armed forces said that the Western spy had used lizards to attract atomic waves and spy on his country's nuclear program. It was the latest in a long line of incidents of Western countries, including Israel, being accused of deploying secret agents from the animal kingdom. He said he did not know the details of the cases, but that the West had often used tourists, scientists, and environmentalists to spy on Iran. Several years ago, some individuals came to Iran to collect aid for Palestine. We were suspicious of their route they chose, he told the reformist ILNA news agency. In their possessions were a variety of reptile desert species like lizards and chameleons. We found out that their skin attracts atomic waves and that they were nuclear spies who wanted to find out where inside the Islamic Republic of Iran we have uranium mines and where we are engaged in atomic activities, he said. Well, there you have it, folks. Just a couple of crazy ones for you to ponder about. If you've enjoyed this and you want to see and hear more, please give this video a like and send me a message, and I'll definitely go deep into some more theories, just like the Illuminati. I'm sure I could do a whole episode just based on that. And of course, don't forget to check under your bed tonight. That's Shane signing out.